Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sarah. So excited.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be talking to you today. We are going to talk about building your styling business. And I'm
Mhm.
going to start by just introducing you and then asking you to share more about yourself, and then we'll jump into the content.
Cool.
Um, Sarah Cohen, you are the founder of the Styling Advisory, and you are going to help stylists learn how to turn their current business into a profitable one. We're going to try
Mhm.
and fit as much as we can into this window today. Um, why don't you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself and the Styling Advisory and what you offer to stylists?
Yes. Okay. So my background is in marketing, PR, communications. I have worked in the fashion and retail industry for about 20 years and representing or managing the marketing activity for brands. I've always been exposed to stylists and have always worked with stylists. And I love them. I love fashion, and I found that personal stylists had this ability to represent a brand, sell a product, build a client relationship on behalf of a brand really effectively. And I just felt that they weren't getting as much exposure and opportunities and weren't being as valued as much as they should. So it kind of led me down a path of focusing my marketing, PR, social media strategy work into the arena of stylists, how they can build their business, how they can create more effective social media strategies, client retention strategies, and turn their business into an empire. And I am so passionate about it. I started a podcast as well because I wanted to make sure that the stylists that were succeeding in the industry, I wanted to make sure that those strategies were also relevant and accurate and aligned with the marketing strategies that I was presenting. So I've been able to talk to stylists and industry professionals from all around the world. It's been fascinating, and it's also been really encouraging to see this industry slowly growing and pivoting now, which is just so important right now. Obviously, GlamHive is this incredible platform and a pioneer of its industry, being able to facilitate a virtual styling session between a client and a stylist anywhere in the world. And I know that a lot of stylists are really apprehensive about the whole process of pivoting online, of how they deliver an accurate sort of styling service when you're not in person, kind of connecting with them, seeing their colors, seeing their silhouette. But I'm excited. This is a really exciting time, and there's lots to do. So I'm going to try and help as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. And I would recommend, I've listened to your podcast. I would definitely recommend that everyone listen to it. There's so much useful information. And I think you really do a great job of covering the whole spectrum from like starting out as a stylist all the way through to an experienced stylist and how you think about your business, how you run your business. And it's, if anything, like many of your sessions are just a great reminder for how to run your business as a stylist. And I think, as I was saying to you earlier today, it's easy as a stylist to just get caught up in the fun working with clients, whether it's virtual or in person, and
Yeah.
kind of forget that you need strategies behind what you're doing and you need to focus on the business in order for it to grow and be profitable. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend your podcast.
Thank you. It's true. The I think we'll sort of get into the first thing. What I wanted to remind people initially is that marketing activity, so whether that's social media content, digital content, like downloadable guides, videos that you do, podcasts, email sequences, emails that you might send out to subscribers to nurture them and turn them into clients, events that you do, all of that marketing activity, that's a tool to help you achieve a particular goal. And what I do with my clients when they join a program, of a marketing and business development program, is we need to do some goal setting. We need to actually understand exactly what it is that you want to achieve, how much money that you want to earn, broken down by what your revenue will be for the year or for the month. Then we can work out, okay, well, what services are you offering and how much are they, how much are you charging for those? So therefore you need to attract or convert X amount of clients a month. Once you've got those sort of revenue goals in place, then you can develop a marketing strategy to achieve them. Otherwise, I think a lot of us just tend to create, sort of go through the motions of creating some content, sending an email, maybe it's a newsletter, maybe creating a video with no strategic purpose in mind. I'm a mum of 2 young kids. I live in Melbourne. My family's in Sydney, so I have to do a lot of the kind of, parenting stuff myself, which means that I don't have a lot of time to be spending creating marketing content that's not going to be effective. Your kids only give you so much time in between, outside of school hours to get all that done. So I thought today let's start off by focusing on the importance of goal setting, and understanding what information you already have at your fingertips already. And then I can talk about the sort of 3 core takeaways, marketing points that I think would be really useful for everyone right now.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And I just want to remind everyone who's listening that you can ask Sarah questions as we go along in the chat function on the side of your screen. So type in any questions you have as we go along there, and I will read them out as we are talking, so that we can really make sure we answer your questions too. But I think, Sarah, when you talked about having goals around revenue annually, monthly, like, I think that is just such a great reminder as a stylist to go back to like the big picture and to the basics of like, why are you here? Ultimately, it's so you can, live the life that you want, and you have to have goals to be able to do that and cover your bills. And even though styling is really fun, it also is work. So I think that's a good starting point for today. So
yeah,
where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, it's interesting that you say it's fun. Yes, styling is fun. You guys are artists. You are kind of like artistic therapists in a way, because the work that you do with clients is confidence boosting. I'm giving them a space to feel vulnerable and rebuild their confidence. Because it's fun and because it can look glamorous, it's really easy to slip into a sort of a headspace where you're not commercializing every opportunity and building a business that is sustainable enough that you don't need to have another part-time job. You can make the amount of money that you want to earn doing what you love. So when it comes to sort of setting goals, revenue goals, it doesn't need to be complicated. It literally can be a case of just saying, okay, how much money do I want to earn per month? Right, okay, so let's say it's $5,000 a month. What are my core services? What are the big services that I'm trying to get every client booking in for and booking in regularly? And then we have a look and go, okay, cool. Well, if my core service is $200, I'm not going to be able to do the maths right now, but you can then work out how many bookings you need to make per month. Then you have a look at that revenue goal and you think, okay, I want to make $5,000 a month. What is going to be the quickest path to success, the easiest way of achieving that? Is it through acquiring new clients? You're going to have to build the brand, move them through what's called a buyer's cycle to give them all the information they need, build trust and convert them? Or is the quickest way of achieving that $5,000 by re-engaging and upselling your existing client base? These are people that already know you and trust you and like what you do. So straight away, once you've picked one of those 2 goals, you can then work out what relevant marketing activity you need to develop to achieve those goals. Because for stylists that already have a handful of clients, if you know that it's going to be easier and quicker for you to just get those clients booking in more frequently and getting them spending a little bit more because you're offering additional services, that changes the content that you create, that changes your approach entirely. All of a sudden, you're going to be focusing on potentially automated email marketing a bit more, offering additional services. You might be on the phone to your clients, finding, getting feedback and shaping ideal services, things that you might be missing that they're still looking for. You might be offering incentives and kind of, you would receive this particularly from like hairdressing salons. If you rebook on the day of your appointment, you might receive 10% off. So you're focusing on this existing pool of clients. Whereas if you're someone that is starting out, that doesn't have a lot of clients, okay, then you need to focus on new client acquisition. And what that means is that people don't know you yet, so you need to make them aware of your brand. You need to communicate who you are, why you're different, what your values are. Then you need to build trust and kind of illustrate what it's like to work with you, the value you provide, take them inside the world of styling with you, and then you need to trigger a purchase, a booking. You need to encourage them to do that. So as you can see, like, working out what you want to earn is kind of like the first step. It's, what do I want out of this? What is my vision? You mentioned that earlier. Is your ultimate vision to only work 2 days a week, or to have your own fashion brand? You know, like, what is your ultimate goal? What are your revenue goals? And then we kind of look at those, and that's also a fun part, because it gets you to really consider what you want your ideal day to look like. You know, 2 years down the track, what do I want? What would my perfect day be? And then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, do you know what? I just realized that I'm actually, I want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Or no, I want to scale my business. I want to bring I want to bring stylists under my belt to represent my brand and expand. The sky's the limit, but you have to have that first step.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like how you can see from what you just said how it flows into creating a recognizable brand, which is something that you talk about a lot, which is
Yeah.
know who your clients are, whether you're starting out and you know which clients you want, or you already have some clients and you can kind of identify similarities and then kind of create that's your core client group. I just think it's so many stylists think they can, you know, style anyone, which is true. Most stylists can style anyone, but then you think, oh, world's your oyster. I don't need to just style just women who are executives, or I don't need to just style men, or, you know, so then you kind of, but it's easy then for your brand to just kind of be diluted and lost. But then there's also like, am I going to get pigeonholed only? Like, I work with a lot of moms. Am I going to be like, oh, I only work with moms who've just had small children? You know, I don't want to get stuck there, but then sometimes you kind of feel a little bit pigeonholed. So I know you disagree with that pigeonholing isn't bad. So
Yes,
let's talk
I
about that a little bit.
Yes. Okay. So where to start? Oh my gosh, so many things going through my head. Firstly, yes, as a stylist, when you are technically trained, you have the ability to style anyone, to solve the styling needs of any particular person. That's a given. What you then do with that knowledge is you then decide, from a marketing perspective, which group you're going to focus on fostering first. The world is your oyster, but the world is a massive oyster. It's the size of the world, and you cannot create enough content physically to be relevant to every different type of client and every different styling need. So, for example, women who are petite or plus size that need brands and styling advice that is different to someone that is looking for maternity wear. That's like, there's so, every single person is so unique with their unique styling requirements. So there's people who hate shopping, people that love shopping and know what they like, but they just don't know how to curate it themselves. People that love designer fashion but need affordable alternatives. So many different types of potential clients. You need to connect with one person first. So your question is, well, if who's that first person going to be? And that's kind of how I describe a core client group. You will always be able to expand your client pool and the services that you offer, but understanding that to develop a relationship, you need to be interesting and relevant to a particular type of client. I'll backtrack a bit. With your brand, you're creating a business personality, you know, for your brand. It's easy with stylists. You are your brand. You are the person. So effectively, what you're trying to communicate is, who am I? I'm Sarah Cohen. What do I care about? What do I dream about? What do I find funny? What's my work ethic? You know, I love tarot readings. Random, but I have clients that also love tarot readings, and they're like, oh my God, you know, you have to connect with people on these particular personal levels. So when you are crafting your own unique brand, it's a combination of what you are extremely good at, you know, what you're really uniquely good at, how you stand out from your competitors, whether that's the way that you offer your styling service, or the post-service support that you provide, the content that you create, the way that you style, the research that goes into your styling. But you need to be able to say, hey, do you know what? When you come to me, this is what you get, and this is how it's different. And you need to be able to shape your business, your brand's values and personality so people resonate with it or they don't. When a potential client is looking for a stylist, once they've worked out that, yep, okay, I have an issue here. For example, a client is a member of an executive team. She sits on a lot of male-dominated boards. She wants to make sure that her external appearance, what she dresses, how she dresses, is allowing her to have a stronger voice in the room. You know, that's her unique sort of concern. You need to make sure that you're able to communicate that that's exactly what you sort of specialize in, and that's really relevant. Now, you don't need to have a brand that is communicating that you only work with people who sit on executive boards, but the value that you talk about there is, I help empower women who want to project a stronger, more confident image, which is very different. That's going to resonate with the example I've just mentioned, but it won't resonate with someone who has just come out of the sort of maternity, you know, their child is now 12 months old and they're ready to try a pair of jeans without an elasticized waist. For them, they're not interested in they literally just want to look like they're not wearing their pajamas anymore. So you won't connect with anyone if you try and connect with everyone. That's my belief. You've got to craft something that is unique and compelling that other people can latch onto and connect to. I'll give you an example. Beth Jones, who I know is a GlamHive stylist and a creative artist, she has crafted a brand which is sort of focused around this concept of always play dress up. So the way that she arrived at that was, she loved dressing up as a kid, you know, the dress up box and putting fun, crazy things in. And she loved that sort of childlike freedom and expression. And she wants everyone to still, as adults, delve into that playful part of themselves and enjoy fashion and play. And her other sort of brand pillar is that thrift, you know, like repurposing, recreating, being bold. So straight away, if I was a potential client, I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed. As soon as you come to Beth's posts, they're unique. No one else looks like her. Her posing, the style, the lighting, the tone, like the emotional tone of the posts, it all hangs on this sort of tagline of always play dress up. And that's a really, really great example of how you can create a unique visual brand identity. But it also means people that love thrift shopping and love like 70s creative boho, like, you know, out there outfits, go, she's the stylist for me.
Yeah. I know she's done an amazing job, and she's around GlamHive, and we've learned from her before all the time. And so I think she's a really great example, and her YouTube following is gigantic. And I think she also does a really great job. I think as stylists, it's sometimes hard to feel like, especially when you're creating this brand, like, are you an influencer? Are you a tastemaker? Are you both? Are you a blogger? You have a blog, maybe you don't have a blog. And she does a great way of kind of like just owning her space as an influencer and stylist. But I think for a lot of stylists, you get like bogged down and feeling like you have to be an influencer, and you know, what does that mean? And you have to spend all this time creating content, and who are you actually creating it for? And Beth Jones clearly articulated who she's, you know, what her pillars are and who she's creating it for. But I think a lot of stylists kind of get lost there. Do you have tips for how to kind of be more focused?
Yeah, I will say, I know that with Beth, she works with a lot of brands. So she'll create branded content, branded partnerships. She might engage in some sort of creative position with the brand to provide the creative direction of whether it's their campaign shoots or an event or content. And that is great. That is a revenue stream for her, because she is both an influencer and a stylist. For a personal stylist, I think Steph and I spoke about this as well. you're a business, you are a business owner. You are running a business. So being an influencer, you may influence people, but I would say that's almost like a secondary sort of, that's the result of what you're trying to do, which is your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever sort of platform you kind of really choose to focus on. Because I think we spoke about it earlier. We don't have the time to create unique content for every different platform. Find out where your potential clients are. If your ideal client uses Facebook more than Instagram, start focusing on Facebook. But you're using that particular platform as your shop front, as your PR outlet, as your business. That is your office. That is everything for you, because that is communicating your brand, that's nurturing potential clients, it's engaging with them. Sometimes it's even transacting with them and getting those bookings in. So instead of worrying about being an influencer, focus every day on, is the content I'm creating for this platform moving potential, like moving my audience through the buyer's cycle? Are they getting closer to booking with me? And if not, why? Am I not explaining what services I create effectively? Is my pricing wrong? Am I not solving their needs in a relevant way? It's so important. At the end of the day, you've got a revenue, you've got your revenue target. I would also say that right now, the opportunities that influencers had, let's say, even up to 6 months ago, are drastically different, which is a real shame, because a lot of these people have created incredible kind of content libraries, and they've been able to develop a business where they can work with brands, and it's been incredibly lucrative and fun and creative. But now you've got marketing managers of brands that will have no budget. They're barely hanging on to their own jobs. So I think it's really important to just stay in your lane, know who you are talking to, even if that is 5 people. Focus your attention on those 5 people. What do they want to see from me every day? What information do they need from me? What makes them excited? What is going to encourage them to build a relationship with me, even if it's just as simple as like a free styling consult to begin with? You just want to get them in and get them working with you.
Yeah, those are great tips. I really like your distinction too of being almost a storefront for yourself rather than having to feel like you have to be an influencer or you have to be a blogger. I think one thing that Stephanie always says when she's having GlamHive discussions is just that, as a stylist, you don't have a shop front. You don't have a storefront the same way a hairstylist would or a nail salon does. And in some ways, that's great for us. In some ways, that's not great. But if you think about your visual identity and your social media and all of that as your storefront, it really puts a different kind of like spin on what you need to be doing and what would you be putting out to the world if you had a storefront. And we often just don't think like that because we're on sets, we're in our homes, now we're in front of our computers, but it's an important point, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. So much has changed with COVID, and so much is uncertain. But I would say something that we can pretty much bank on is for the next 2 years, the way that stylists are engaged and the way that they work and the needs of clients, whether that's a retail client or an individual, have changed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And so it is really important, if you were to consider, say, your Instagram account, let's just pretend that that's kind of like your shop front. If you were a hairstylist in the salon, you would have price lists. You'd be connecting with people, having those private conversations. There would be an element of aspiration. There's usually beautiful magazines and pictures. So you've kind of got to think, where are all those elements sitting in my digital platform? So the other thing is, no one wants to search for information. If they see your page, if a potential client is on your social media and they have to click an extra link to find out more, or if they have to go searching for pricing or testimony, anything, if they have to do a thing, it's what's called a barrier to purchase. It prevents them slightly from kind of getting to book in with you. And in my days in marketing and e-commerce, there are things called little conversion tweaks that you can do on an e-commerce website, which is like a digital store. Tiny little tweaks that remove those barriers to purchase and encourage someone to purchase, or they increase the likelihood of that person purchasing. And the same can be said for your social media, your marketing, the sort of client touch points that you've created. Little tweaks like adding a book now link to your, like using Linktree, let's say, on Instagram, and having your kind of top 4 links there so people can just press a button and connect with you immediately. Using a scheduling app. I use Acuity. There's heaps. Get Timely. There's a million of them. But again, instead of having email me for inquiries or phone me, no one wants to. If they want to book in, give them an opportunity to just click a button. It'll show the available times. You just want to make it easy for them. And that means that the content that you create across all digital platforms needs to kind of provide the information before they even think they need it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Anticipate what people want from you.
Yeah. And then also another thing, your social media, I just wanted to remind people, the purpose of social media is to get them off social media and onto your website to book, or onto your e-commerce site to purchase. That's its purpose. You're able to generate brand awareness and nurture potential clients, but ideally you want them subscribing to an email list, because a lot of them won't be ready to book in immediately. They'll need that nurturing, which is a marketing term for basically just getting them, building trust and getting them excited and making them feel like you really can solve a problem. And you want them on your website as well, to see all the other information, to read more testimonials, to get involved in your world. So I guess when it comes to that question about being an influencer or not, when you're an influencer, you are paid to promote a product on your social media page, and the purpose there is, awareness, sort of alignment of that brand and the influencer, and then your audience will potentially click on that product to buy or whatever. But it's kind of the awareness phase, whereas your social media account kind of has to be everything. You've got to be providing relevant information for everyone, no matter whether they've just discovered you or whether they're on the fence and they're ready to book. And for that, you need a social media strategy, which I provide.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's I think, as we were saying earlier, you yourself, you're a stylist, you have young kids. I would say the social media content is probably it's the bane of most of our jobs, really. It's not a fun part, particularly for those of us that didn't grow up with it. It's something that is potentially an afterthought, but it really is such an incredible opportunity. And right now, in this kind of climate of isolation, one of the only opportunities to attract and nurture and eventually convert clients. So you need a strategy, and that strategy is effectively just a couple of parameters that you set for yourself to ensure that what you're creating has a purpose, that it's designed to encourage action, whether it's engagement replies, whether it's clicking on a link, subscribing to an email list, booking in for a free consultation, or booking a service. And it needs to provide all the information a potential client could ever need. Just trying to think how deep should I go into the strategy?
Okay, well, let me just think for a second. So I think the strategy is important, and that is one thing that we talk about a lot with our GlamHive stylists. Is we provide social media graphics and written captions. Words were escaping me. And that's one of the things we talk about, is always having a call to action. And I think that's really important. So I think if we don't dive too deep, but keep it high level enough, I think having a consistent brand, knowing who your client base is, and then using a social media strategy. I think what comes to mind for me is, like, what does a strategy look like? Like, is it something that, like, every stylist should, like, document in a Word document? Is Like, how do you decide which platforms to use? What is like, do you need to be as specific as Beth Jones where it's always play dress up and vintage? Do you need to, like, how do brands, because I think stylists do have, and I know you believe this, that stylists have an important role to play with brands, not as
Yeah.
influencers in that way necessarily, but there's definitely synergies between stylists and brands, and knowing which brands their core clients want and being able to bring new brands to them and that sort of thing. So I guess, how does that all kind of wrap up into a
How is it
social
all connected?
media? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's a good question, and it's a question I kind of when I started the styling advisory and developed the Empire Blueprint program, which is a 5-module sort of 5-month marketing program where I work with the client, and we start with your brand. We define your brand. So step 1, we know who you are, what you care about, how you're different, what your vision is, what your goals are. We then take that and we go, okay, what's the next step? Let's define your core client. Who is the person who is most likely booking in with you? That kind of, that particular client. What are the similarities or the trends that you're seeing with people that are booking in with you? Are they all similar age? Do they like particular brands? Do they have similar body shapes or professions? Finding those similarities and connections to shape a particular profile. Then we go, okay, well, you need a business plan, and a business plan can be as complex as you want it or as simple as you want it. What I think is really useful is to understand who your competitors are and kind of get an idea of how these are the people that are going to be trying to attract the same customer. That's who you need to be aware of. And the only way you'll know that is if you've worked out who you are first and then who you're trying to target. Then once you understand those competitors, we then have a look at the systems, the strengths that you have, what are the opportunities for growth, and we kind of map all of those out in an action plan. So, okay, you know what, one of my weaknesses is I don't have a website, or I'm doing everything manually. Emails, invoicing, I don't keep track of my client contact information, or I don't have, like a marketing tool an email marketing tool that I use, or I live in a small town and there's not a lot of potential clients around, so I need a global audience. Whatever those opportunities, strengths, and weaknesses are, we're going to map those out in an action plan. And then what do we do? Then it is the services. You've got to make sure that the services that you create are relevant for that core client. So whatever that core client's problems are, what their needs are, what their expectations are, that's how you're crafting those services. And then finally, you get to the kind of marketing component, which is, okay, we know who we're trying to attract, we know who we are, we know where we want to go, we know what our opportunities are. So now we're going to craft some sort of key messages, and we're going to craft some content that moves people through the stages of a marketing funnel, building awareness, building trust. So again, that literally could be just a Word document. You just want to make sure that you're kind of listing all of the content types, and thinking to yourself, what's the purpose? What's the call to action? And even if at the very least you just kind of have this picture of the person that you're targeting in mind, that alone will help you be more strategic with the content that you create.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think we see brands doing that a lot. Like Rebecca Minkoff, she has her, ideal client she's painted, she talks to, she, designs for. And I think a lot of designers work that way. And I think it's really a great recommendation for stylists to like think about that for your own business and work towards that just the same way designers do. I think that's really important. Let's see, I had a thought in there. Oh, so you were talking about systems and maintaining clients, and this kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation, which was, so you have a core group of clients, you are nurturing those relationships, maybe not going out and getting new clients because you don't need to. How do you keep track of all of their information, and what should you be like, what are your recommendations around like, because it's GlamHive does streamline some parts of that, but then you'll have like lots of other pieces that are you're either doing manually, like you said, or they're just in different places, or you let them pile up and then you enter them all at once and then it's not current. So what is your kind of like maintaining client, CRM type recommendations?
I use MailChimp. I really like it. It's a, it's a step further into the kind of technical space that can be daunting for stylists. But I think what's important to remember is that all of these new programs, these CRM tools, email service provider tools, marketing platforms, you might have heard of HubSpot, Zoho, as I said, MailChimp, Constant Contact. There's all of these different platforms. They've been designed for the end user to be someone like you or me that doesn't have like the technical background. So you can use them. They've got incredible resources, instant chat help, video tutorials. So you are supported, but picking a program that not only houses your contact data, that allows you to communicate really easily and effectively, that allows you to segment your client data. You might have people that have subscribed to a newsletter, and some of them have then become a client, some of them haven't. Ideally, you would segment those groups of those pockets of people and then work out, okay, what is the different type of marketing activity I need to do to turn those subscribers into clients or get those clients booking in again. So having all of that information in one place and having the ability to dissect it and analyze it is really it's a key to success, which is so often untapped. I didn't get into the analytics earlier in the conversation, but I'll just sort of reference it now. Again, for most stylists, even if you've just started out, you've still got a bit of a social media following. You might have a few contact emails. You might have a couple of clients. You might have a website. All of a sudden, you've got all of these potential points of information, of data. And it's usually really easy to just jump into the kind of the insights section of Instagram, Google Analytics, the sort of reporting of if you use an email provider, let's say like MailChimp, and you can start to get a really great snapshot of what is working and what is not working, what people are connecting with. People might be coming to your website. You might get, let's say, 100 people on your website a month, but no one's booking in. What you can draw from those insights can refine your strategy to, again, continue to kind of convert people across all of your marketing activity. So I think there is an element of stylists needing to also commit to sort of learning a new skill themselves, which is how do I understand the platforms that I'm already using? How do I kind of extract as much useful information as possible, because that is going to refine the efforts you make. You might spend ages doing a video, let's say, perfect example, stylists doing styling videos, and they can take ages, to get the lighting right. Talking to the camera can feel a little bit uncomfortable for some people. You spend a lot of time in the editing process, or you've paid someone to edit it. You're posting these videos, but you're finding that it's not driving any traffic to your website, or it's not generating a lot of engagement. You can work out why it's not been successful and pivot slightly and suddenly start to kind of double the engagement and be converting clients. But you have to know, you can't just create the content, send the emails, create free offers and then not look at the results. I think that's a really important thing. So having an overview of the analytics sounds scary, but it really is a quick and easy way of boosting your business.
Yeah, I mean, I look at my analytics all the time because I find it fascinating, especially when you send out a newsletter or you reach people who you haven't reached, and you can see like where in the world they are, and even insights through Instagram, just understanding like who clicked through to my website or who clicked through to my profile. And I think that does really help. And we did in one of the GlamHive masterclasses talk a little bit about like what does work more effectively, like saying like pushing people to your direct messages or to your email. And I think we had a few stylists who just tested it, and I think everyone has to just test all the time. I mean, I know bigger
Such a good
companies do
point.
that, but it
Such
is,
a good point.
as a stylist working on your own, you sometimes forget that you really have to be thinking like, did this work? Do I need to try something else? And I think it's a good reminder to do that.
Can if I could say one thing, it's this, and I feel very passionate about it, so I'm just going to try and like gather my thoughts and articulate it. And you know what? This took me years to kind of come to terms with as well. There is no secret that half the people know and then someone listening here doesn't know. There is no silver bullet. There is no perfect right answer. Every single person and their business and their brand, it is different. So what professionals like myself, what I enjoy doing is working with stylists to give them that plan, that roadmap, that kind of overarching structure to go, okay, so here are these are the foundations of a business. You need to know your brand, your core client. You need to have a social media strategy with key messages that is going to drive people to book in with you. You need to know what your business plan is in terms of how you're going to plug gaps, fix areas that you're not as strong in, and take advantage of opportunities that you have to build your business. And then also what is my plan to reinvest and re-engage with existing clients. So I love plans. That's why I developed a business all around plans, and then working with the people, connecting with people and working with them on the phone. Like, okay, how did that go? What do we think about this? That for me works, and it continually amazes me, no matter how many stylists I work with. Every single person is so different. What works for one stylist will not work for another stylist. So I think the first step is to kind of realize you're not in the dark, in that, everyone else has cottoned onto the secret and you don't know. What you said is so accurate. You just need to continue testing every day. Keep testing and testing and testing, and then you will come up with the silver bullet, the answer that is only relevant for you. So sending an email, no one clicks on it. You think that wasn't a success, and but if it wasn't, ring a client that you know and be like, babe, did you see my email? Was it a complete waste of time? Or, ask. It's important, I think, also not to be afraid to say to people, what's working, what's not working. If you can develop really great relationships with your clients, they are also such an asset to your business. They'll sing your praises. They're the mavens of your brand, obviously, but they will also be able to say to you, do you know what I would love? And it could be that tiny tweak to the service. I had a client the other day who said to me, I'm a bad student. I need you to remind me to do my homework. And I was like, really? Because I hated people that reminded me to do my homework. So I didn't do it. But I did. I took the feedback and I sent her a little reminder going, homework's due. And she was like, thank you. That was exactly what I needed to make me feel like I'm being held accountable. So I'm trialing and testing stuff every day. I think successful people are always open to evolving, refining, changing. So if you have that spirit in you to go, I'm just going to keep trying, you will develop a successful business.
Yeah, I would be generalizing here, but I think it is in the stylist nature to always be trying new things. I think that's part of probably what we all love about fashion, is that you get to try new things all the time and see what works and what doesn't. And I think it's a really good point to just be open to that. And I think also seeking feedback from clients is so important, especially as we all I do want to touch on this, but I also am aware that we're getting close to out of time. But just a reminder too to everyone to ask your questions now. But as we're all pivoting to exclusively virtual services, like what does that mean? Everyone just barged into my office. Excuse me.
Mom life.
You think you have them under control, but you don't. So I guess the pivot to the virtual, and what does that mean? And we all have to try new things, and what does that look like? So I guess, do you have tips that you're thinking about related to how this virtual world's going to work? Or what have you learned with your stylist clients working virtually so far?
Okay, well, when it comes to clients working virtually, what I'm starting to see is a real kind of defining moment of whether you're successful or not is going back to the source, going back to your existing clients. Honestly, even if it is just one person or a friend, if you do not have a single client, and saying, what would you like? Because what we're seeing now is people are shopping online a lot. And we always knew that e-com sales were going to start to kind of um, match, if not outweigh, physical store sales. So people are shopping in the online space, but they're still needing that guidance. For example, I had a voucher the other day, a gift voucher for a big Australian retailer, and I was like, oh, what to spend my voucher on? And I thought, this is where I need a stylist to say, I've got $148. It's always a random amount. I would love someone to go, okay, cool. These are the kind of pieces I would get, or just thinking outside the box as to how you can facilitate and support online shopping, outfits. Another thing I'm seeing is, for me, conducting my business completely virtually, I always need like top half, styling options. Like all of a sudden, it's never mattered so much as now to have the right color next to my face. And, being in Melbourne, there's a lot of black. So there's the client's needs are evolving. They still need a stylist. So the stylists that are working really well are the ones that have got a grasp of the virtual styling tools. I work with a styling team, the Style Core in California, Erin and Carla Mathis, and we're putting on a virtual a course how to launch a successful virtual styling business in about a week's time. And what we're seeing is all of these stylists from around the world are starting to experiment with different tools. So GlamHive is a virtual styling tool. So is Zoom. Being able to conduct a virtual styling session like this. And then there's sort of color analysis tools, digital content tools. And the stylists that are succeeding are the ones that have kind of pivoted to start familiarizing themselves with those tools, finding out from their clients what they actually want, whether it's outfit planning options or shoppable mood boards, or color analysis, but just more sort of in a more condensed way. And they're quickly packaging up those services and promoting them and talking about them and bringing them to life. That's another key component of your marketing strategy is, when you're working virtually with someone, all of a sudden you don't necessarily have the images of you and the client shopping and the before and afters and a lot of that sort of visual imagery that you could use to promote the service. So you need to consider how you promote the virtual service and bring that to life so people can understand what that would look like and how it works. So being transparent is another really key component. Instead of just saying, I offer virtual styling, well, that could mean anything. So being really, really clear. So those are the kind of elements that I'm seeing now. The ones that are doing it really successfully have all had in place.
Yeah, I do think that that's been a learning curve for a lot of stylists with GlamHive anyway, like learning to style via Zoom, like understanding what people's body shapes look like, or even just making it comfortable for the client to work with you on Zoom remotely. And I think it takes time. I mean, that's an evolution. It's happened so fast now thanks to COVID. But I think a lot of our GlamHive stylists do really want to use the tools available, and it's a big shift. But I think having everything else like that you've talked about today kind of in place means you can focus then on your virtual styling, how it goes, or vice versa. If you already have the virtual styling locked down, maybe you need to work on the marketing, or I think that's really, really interesting. So we're almost out of time. Question: you're in Australia, where do you work? Do you work with everyone remotely? How do you work?
Yes, I have clients. I just had a conversation with a client in Cairo, the UK, the States, obviously Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So the programs that I run, we have 2 strategy sessions per module, which can be done per month or per fortnight, depending on how speedy you want to work, where it's a video, strategy session. I have a workbook for each module, which we'll go through together, and then I kind of provide my executive review. Literally everything is virtual, and it's fabulous because I do get to understand the styling market within different countries and within different cities as well. So different, so different. I'm just thinking of all the different types of environments. Yeah, so all the details are on my website under the business coaching programs.
Great, and we can share that too with our stylists directly. But
yeah,
I think that's it. I think we covered all of the points that we were hoping to today. So thank you so much, Sarah. This has been really informative.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you to GlamHive. Such an awesome pioneering tool. Everyone should be using it.
Well, I think as stylists, we really appreciate you and Stephanie and your enthusiasm and passion for helping us all do better in our marketing and in our just business overall. So thank you for your support.
My pleasure.
All
Bye,
right,
everyone.
bye.